Welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Smith, and inside this game overview and gameplay video, I'm excited to be checking out Pergola. This comes from Rebel Studios, and as you can see here on the game table, I've got a number of the components already laid out and organized. You can use the rulebook to help you in order to get things into the right compartments. I'll be taking you through the steps of setup and then focusing on the adjustments for solo play, of which there are only a few. And then we'll dive right into a solo play together, and I'll show you how this thing flows and operates. This is a peaceful, nature-themed board game where you step into the shoes of a cheerful gardener ready to build the garden of your dreams. In this Euro-style game for 1 to 4 players, you'll be planting colorful flowers, attracting charming insects, and creating a tranquil haven filled with life. The goal overall is to craft the most beautiful and balanced garden possible with zero negative interaction, just pure, serene competition, or in the case of solo play, a challenge. Each turn in the game, you're going to be selecting a gardening tool tied to a specific action space. That tool lets you collect 2 garden elements, which you get to carefully place in your garden grid following smart placement rules to form the valuable sets that you'll be scoring at the end. After you place your tiles, you're activating a unique garden action, maybe fluttering insects around the board, moving a water drop, grabbing a leaf, or leaping your frog across the pond. Every action you take shapes not just the look of your garden, but the strategy and your final score. And there's multiple paths to victory, so the choices along the way really do matter. Now the game will end once every player's collected 15 tools, and then it's time to score based on the goals shown on the scoring board. We'll touch on this later on. The gardener with the most points is crowned the winner in multiplayer mode. If you're playing solo, which you'll see inside this video, we're going to be going up against a challenge, which we select at the time of setup, and there's also opposing scores to reference as well. Inspired by a real-life plant lover and brought to life with gorgeous hand-painted watercolor art by meadow illustrator Karolina Kijak-Jikonska, Pergola is all about creativity, nature, and relaxing gameplay. Are you ready to roll up your sleeves and let your garden bloom? If so, let's dive into setup together. We'll start with the player setup. Start things off by placing your garden board in front of you, your pergola board to the left, and the cascade board to the right. Find and place your scoring board underneath of your garden board. Now grab yourself a pot as well as a lid. The lid will have 15 slits in it. You'll be placing the tools that you select during your turn on each turn into these slots, and once all of them are full, that will signify the end of your game. You've got 4 honey pots here. You're going to make sure that they're on the empty side, which doesn't look like they're actually full, like this. And you'll have 2 water drops, a frog token, as well as a birdhouse. Place your frog token in your garden. Place your 2 water drops on the top of the cascade board. You'll see the icons for the 2 water drops up top. Now take your 4 honey pots. You're going to place them on the bench in front of the pergola. Finally, take your birdhouse and place it in one of the trees. Any extras and duplicates of these tokens we just placed, as well as any pots, you can place back inside the box when playing solo. Next, take out the token holder from the box and place it above your garden. Set up your leaf board by simply placing the leaf board within easy reach. You'll also find tokens of leaves of varying colors. Take all of them, shuffle them together, and create 3 equal stacks, and then place them randomly in one of the 3 positions on the board. Now let's set up the tools and the action board. You'll have 4 different types of tools inside the tool holder, but depending on how many players are involved, you'll take certain tools out of the equation or potentially leave them all in. If you're playing with 4 players around the game table, all 4 different types of tools will stay inside of this tool organizer. If you're playing a solo game, you're playing a 2-player game, and so 2 of these tool sets will be removed. Within the rules on the first couple pages, you'll find exactly the tool sets you need to keep dependent on the player count. For 2 players, these are the ones you need. The tools coming out of the tool organizer come out from right to left. So first, all the shovels on the right will come out, and then eventually we'll get to the hoe tools, and they'll come down to the action board. So we're going to start right now by placing 4 of the shovel tools above each of the actions. When playing solo, instead of using this side of the action board, you'll instead flip it to the opposite side. And that'll do it for the tools and the action board. The pawn board sits in the middle of the organizer in the center of the table, and you'll see off to the right a number of dragonflies. Here we have large dragonflies in red, and in green, medium-sized dragonflies. Each large dragonfly comes with 2 medium dragonflies, so there are 4 sets in here. We're now going to go ahead and stage these sets, but when you're playing solo and setting up for a 2-player game, you're going to remove 1 of each of the medium dragonflies from all 4 sets. So we're going to take this one out of the equation, this one out of the equation, this, and this, leaving us with just these. Now we simply take the large dragonfly and place it on the same type of the medium dragonfly to create stacks. We'll have 4 different stacks for 4 different types, and now we're going to take each of these stacks and place them on one of the 4 lily pads on the pawn board. It'll be the lighter green lily pads that get these dragonflies. And just like that, the pawn board has been set up. That's going to wrap up the physical setup of the game. We now move to page 15 for the final thing to choose, and that is the challenge that the solo player is going to be going up against. As you can see, there are a number of them here. There's a total of 10, and if you actually accomplish all 10 across multiple solo games, then you join what's known as the 1000 Club. To join the 1000 Club, you need to gain a total of 1,000 points in all the above challenges. And for the purposes of this video, I'll be starting with challenge number 1, called a ladybug on each magnolia level. It tells us here you must have at least 1 ladybug on each of at least 3 magnolia levels, and you'll also see some scores from other players that will be playing alongside of me in terms of a points challenge. Once I get my results, I can write them in here. Now to the left of the challenges on page 14, you'll see 3 important sections for solo players. You got gameplay, end of game, and 1000 Club. We touched on the 1000 Club and what it does. The end of the game is all around counting your points just like you normally would following the normal rules, and of course trying to fulfill the requirements of the challenge, which we now know. Now in terms of gameplay, what's awesome about the solo gameplay in this one in general is that there's no changes to how the game normally operates. So if you know how to play the game multiplayer, you'll know how to play it solo and vice versa. The only one additional step that gets added into solo play is that the neighbor is going to discard a tool from the action board from the same half of the board that you choose your tool. That's it. You'll remember just moments ago, we flipped over the action board to the opposite side to denote exactly how this is now going to work. So when I select a tool and I'll have 4 available to me, the neighbor is going to come in and take a tool from the same side of the board that I did. So essentially think that there's a line in the middle here. If I take from this side, the neighbor's going to take the opposite. If I take from this side, the neighbor will take the opposite. And then of course we replenish from the organizer of tools up top. We're now ready to go into our very first player turn of 15 turns that I'll be taking. We first select a tool. Second, we enrich our garden with what the tool states for garden elements. Those things get placed inside of our garden as we wish. And then we perform an action, the action that was below the tool that we selected. And then we clean up. And then of course the neighbor comes in, does his thing. And then after that we replenish and begin a brand new turn. Now, as the game's focus is on scoring points, this is going to be very beneficial for you the first few games you play, and eventually this will just all be in your head, and you may not even need this anymore. But on the left-hand side, you're going to see Hollyhock, and how they score is in sets. So the larger the set of different colors, more points you gain. So for instance, if I have a yellow Hollyhock, red and blue, I'm going to get 6 points. If I have just 2 of the 3 colors, I'm getting 3 points, and if I have just 1 on its own, I just get 1 point. Now these, when they get placed into your garden, get placed in columns. So for instance, if I gained a yellow first, it would be the first one in. If I gained another yellow, it would go on top. If I gained another yellow after that, it would go on top of that. Then any red or blue that come into the equation, just start in columns beside it, because the focus is on sets. Now, butterflies are going to provide you a score based on them sitting on hollyhocks of varying levels. So if a butterfly is on the first level, it's going to score 1 point. If it's on the second level or third level, it scores 2 points. And if it's on the 4th or higher level, it's scoring 3 points. Next up is Magnolia, which is going to give you points based on the level that you have let it branch upwards. So essentially when it first gets placed, it's on the ground level, which is level 1. And every single one that you put on after that's going to potentially increase it higher up. You could also have branching where you have maybe 2 or 3 trails kind of heading up as the levels increase. But essentially levels 1 to 3, so the first 3 levels of the Magnolia plant are going to give 1 point for each Magnolia on the level. Doesn't matter if it's one of the ones that looks like a double or a single, it's just going to give 1 point. Level 4 gives 2 points for each Magnolia on that level, and level 5 and up gives 3 points. Next up, we got ladybugs. Each one of these want to sit on a magnolia plant, and every magnolia plant branch is going to have a spot for 1 ladybug. So as you branch upwards, you'll have spaces for ladybugs to exist. As part of the challenge for what I'm trying to do in this playthrough, I need to get a ladybug on each of the 3 first phases at least. And of course, I can go well beyond this, but that's the challenge. So I'm definitely going to be using magnolia in my garden and branching upwards, and then trying to get ladybugs to get into position to meet that challenge. Now, in terms of scoring, it only matters how many ladybugs are at each given level. So for level 1, if you happen to have 2 ladybugs, at level 1, you get 2 points. Then you look at level 2, if you happen to have 3 ladybugs at level 2, you get 3 points there. And then of course you'll add up each of those all the way up. Next up is buttercups, which are right here. Red and blue is what they come in. They also have spaces for bees on them. The blues have space for 2 bees. The reds have space for 1 bee. We'll talk about that in a second. But the actual existence of these buttercups, if you have 1 blue and 1 red, will automatically give you a set bonus of 3 just for having those 2 together. So if you have a single one without a complementary one, it's not going to provide any points on this one right here. So if you get a red and blue and a red and blue, you're sitting pretty with 6 points. Next up we have bees, and you'll see they keep themselves very busy trying to net points across lavender and also buttercups. Now buttercups in red and blue have varying amounts of bee icons on them. The red ones are easy to fill. There's just 1 bee necessary. Now in order to score points with the bee, you have to have all the bee spots filled on the corresponding things. So for instance with lavender, there's 3 positions for a bee to fill before you get 8 points. For the blue buttercup, it's going to take 2 bees in position to get the 4 points, and for the red buttercup, it's just going to be a single bee will net you 2 points. So how are you going to get that lavender on the board and get that 8 points? Well, you're going to need to put some leaves together. The first time you place a leaf down, you're going to place it in your garden and it's going to net you 2 points on its own, but that's it. Once you get another leaf in there, you can then combine them. At that point, you're allowed to go ahead and choose to place a lavender, which of course on its own doesn't net you anything as being lavender, but presents you the opportunity to place bees there to net you 8 points if you can fill all 3 spots with bees, or you can choose to just take a very small dragonfly and net yourself a quick point. Speaking of dragonflies, that's next, and you'll see the small dragonflies, which will come when you combine 2 leaves together. If you choose to go that route instead of lavender, will give you 1 point. The medium dragonflies coming from the pond will give you 3 points, and the large dragonflies will give you 5 points. Last but not least, we got these extra points you can potentially net by going ahead and filling up some honey pots or potentially cascading your water drops down the waterfall. We'll talk about that in just a second. And also gathering leaves of varying colors, because that's what counts. The different colors will net you some extra points. As we talked about before, the honey pots are pretty straightforward. Essentially, if there is 4 bees inside your pergola on your buttercups, then you're able to fill up one of the honey jars, which will net you some points. And we'll talk more about that later on, depending on which one you choose to fill up. You have 4 options available to you. And again, you can continue doing this up to 3 times, because once you get to 7 bees in that area, you can fill up another jar. And once you get to 9, you can do it yet again. Now, after that, you'll see this symbol right here, which is the water drop. This is all around the cascade. Water drops will start at the top of the cascade, and as you can move them 1 position at a time, you'll move them to a position down 1. So essentially I could go to here and take a bee, I can move to here and take nothing, or I can move over here and take the butterfly. Essentially, as you're cascading down here, you're going to be able to stop and take things as you wish, and once you get to the bottom, you'll start to see some additional points that you can net if you land there. The final icon on the scoring board showed a multicolored leaf, meaning for every unique colored leaf that we have on our birdhouse at the end of the game, we gain 1 point for each of the unique ones. So if we have all 4 colors that are represented inside these piles, we can gain up to 4 points. It's now time to dive into solo gameplay. We'll first select our tool, and then we'll go ahead and gather the gardening elements, and we'll place them in our garden. And then we're going to go ahead and talk quickly about the 4 actions here, and again, be taking one of the actions depending on which tool I snag. As I mentioned earlier, it makes more sense to flip the tools in a way that's easy to see the icons on them. You'll see I got some magnolia here. This one is a 2-pronged magnolia piece, and then we've also got some buttercup here, blue. Step 1 is grabbing the tool. Step 2 is enriching my garden. So I placed the buttercup hanging from the pergola over here, and I've also got my magnolia planted. With step 1 and 2 out of the way, let's now go to step 3, which is to perform an action based on where we picked up our tool. So in this case, it'll be right here. But before we do that, let's go ahead at a high level and go through the major 4 actions that we can potentially run into. I'll keep the fine details out until I actually do them during gameplay. But at a high level, starting from the top left, we have insect flutter. So you take any 2 insects from your garden. It can be a ladybug, bee, or butterfly, and place it on any allowed plants that have free spots. The second action is known as a bird flight, and this can allow you to take a leaf from any of the 3 piles off the leaf board, then take an insect depicted on the leaf from the token holder, you gain that, and then you perform the bird flight and place the leaf on the birdhouse in your garden. Next up is the water drip. The one we'll be resolving for turn number 1 as I took a tool above it, and that's going to allow me to move one of my 2 water drops one space down the cascade. The last action is known as the frog jump, where you make your frog jump to an adjacent water lily and then take an insect or dragonfly if you fulfill the requirements. You can take the dragonfly, we'll talk about that later on. And at the beginning of the game, the frog that you'll be putting on a lily pad is actually in your garden. You'll remember we placed it there at the beginning. So when you take this action for the very first time, you get to take your frog token and place it on any lily pad that doesn't have a dragonfly. Let's resolve my water drip action. So taking a look at the cascade, I could stop with one water drip right here and get a bee. I could go here and get absolutely nothing for the time being, but eventually get some other things. Or I could go down here and get a butterfly. I'm going to move my water drop down to the bee, so I gain a bee for my garden. So I've gained a bee token. I could choose to have it flying anywhere in my garden openly, or I could choose to place it in a spot where a bee could reside, like for instance, right here. Let's have the bee land on the blue buttercup, and that's going to do it for now. We can't fill that thing completely up as we don't have an additional bee, but we're working our way towards doing that. Now, as part of the solo rules, the neighbor's going to come along and take a tool from the same side that I picked one. So it's going to go after this one right here. We'll place it off to the side. Then the 2 tools that are sitting on the left-hand side are going to shift over to the rightmost positions, and then we're going to draw up 2 more shovels into the open spaces. That's going to wrap up turn number 1. Let's head into turn 2. For this turn, I'm going to choose this tool right here. The tool provides me with a single branch magnolia, which I've got here, as well as a lantern. And these lanterns are really cool. They get hung up in the tree, and you can choose to use them on your turn by flipping them over, showing that they're used, and then you get the effect that's on them. In this case, whenever I'm taking one of the water drip actions, I can flip this lantern to take an additional one. So I've enriched my garden by placing the lantern up in the tree area for now, and the magnolia single branch attached to one of the double branches for level number 1. So now I have a level number 1 and 2 magnolia plant going here. And again, per the challenge, I need to have at least 3 levels of a magnolia plant have 1 ladybug on it each. That's going to do it for now, so we'll place the tool inside the pot. Now the tool I selected came from this column right here, and the action is bird flight. So I get to take a leaf from any of the 3 piles off of the leaf board. And as you remember from earlier in the video, this can be important not only for what you're gaining in terms of whether you gain a butterfly or a bee, or in this case a ladybug, but there's also with some of them 2 things you gain. This one allows you to not only gain a ladybug, but also be able to do the insect flutter as well. So that can be very beneficial. But again, remember for points, in terms of getting these leaf tokens, I'm going to pick one up right now and take it. Whichever one I take goes on my birdhouse once I've gained what's on the token. And for every different color I have, remember at the very end of the game, I can get up to 4 points here. I've chosen to go after this leaf here, which provides me a bee. The bee that I gain is going to go on the buttercup, which is going to be great because that will complete this buttercup. And the leaf will go on the birdhouse for point scoring in the future. The neighborhood gardener is going to go ahead and steal this one from me. We'll take it away and place it off to the side, and we're going to replenish these 2 spaces. This time you'll notice there's no point in moving things off to the right because stuff is already there. That concludes turn number 2. We're on to turn 3. Let's go ahead this time and take the farthest right tool. We'll take this one here, giving us a blue buttercup as well as 1 leaf. Now it's time to enrich our garden. Let's go ahead and place the buttercup over here at the pergola with the other one. And of course, I'm looking in the future to find some red buttercups because again, if we can pair the blue and the red together, we get points from that. We're already pairing up the bees with the buttercups. That's giving us some points, so that's good. Now the leaf that we got here, or leaves we got here, we're going to plant like this. And again, doesn't do much for us beyond 2 points by itself. But if I get another one of these beside it, I'll have the choice to place a small dragonfly inside or lavender. With our garden enriched, we'll go ahead and place the tool inside of our bucket. Now we'll go ahead and do the action, which is right here. And for the first time, we're doing the frog jump. When it's your first time doing the frog jump, your frog will still be on your garden board. And so when it goes ahead to jump onto the board, instead of doing what it normally would do for this action, which is to jump to an adjacent lily pad of your choice. Again, the dragonfly ones have specific requirements I'll talk about later on, but you can see the other 3 are wide open and connected, so you can move between the ladybug to the butterfly to then to the bee, that kind of direction, or go the opposite way. You can only go into the dragonfly spaces if you meet the requirements of the type of dragonfly that is there. So for right now, I can go ahead and have my frog leave my garden and land on one of the 3 open lily pads that are there. Ladybug, butterfly, or bee, depending on which one I want. As my challenge is telling me to place ladybugs on the magnolia, I should probably get some ladybugs going. So let's go ahead and collect one of those, and we'll place it in our garden. At this point in time, when we gain it, we can choose to leave it in an open area, and again, assign it later, or if we have an open space available, we can place it there, and we do. Right here, we can choose to either have it on level 1 or 2. It doesn't matter which one. We get to choose where it goes. It doesn't have to go from bottom up. Now let's quickly talk about the dragonflies, the red ones. Remember, those are the large dragonflies. They're worth 5 points at the end of the game. In order to obtain them, I have to meet the requirements based on the icon in the center of them. In the bottom left, you'll see one that ties to leaves. I have to have at least 4 lavender leaves in my garden to have my frog jump onto that and then take the very top dragonfly for 5 points. The one in the very middle, I have to have at least 4 magnolias of any size in the garden in order to take that one. So we're working our way towards that, but don't have it yet. And leaves, we're also doing the same, but a little bit further behind. The one on the far right is all about having 4 buttercups of any size. We're about halfway through that as well, so doing pretty good there. And the very top one is having at least 4 hollyhocks of any color in our garden, and we don't have any currently. Now the neighbor's going to come along and take from the same side I took, so we're moving this one here, which means the rest of these are going to slide over, and we're going to replenish with 2 new shovels. We got this one here, which actually comes in with a lantern. That's kind of nice. We'll have to check out the effect on that. And wow, lots of magnolia. I can't get myself away from that lantern. I think I'm going to go after it because this is a really cool ability that allows you, when you gain either a butterfly, a ladybug, or a bee, to gain another of the one that you gained. So if I happen to, during the game, gain a bee and then I use the lantern, I can take another bee. So that sounds very useful to me. Plus, going after another leaf could also provide me another garden element. So I'm going to go with this one right here. I think it's a good choice. Plus, I get to go up on my magnolia as well. Let's go ahead and enrich the garden. So we'll take this lantern for now and place it up in the tree until I want to use it. And the one right here, we're going to go ahead and attach like so. That's going to do it for now. We'll place our tool inside of our pot. And now we'll take a bird flight action. Now the leaf board's got some good choices here because I have a red leaf currently, so any of these colors on top are going to work for me. Also, a number of different insects here I could choose from, butterfly or ladybug, and then some of them have the additional flutter action on top of it, which I can make use of, but maybe not in this moment, as I have nothing that's fluttering around at the moment, so it kind of wouldn't be a full good usage. But remember, right now, if I choose, for instance, to go after this ladybug right here, and I do have 2 spaces on my magnolia right now, if I take this one, I gain a ladybug, and then I could technically use my lantern, flipping it over to gain an additional ladybug, and that would be 2, being able to fill up my magnolia, and that would meet the challenge. So let's go ahead and do exactly that. So we'll go ahead and take a ladybug, and then we're going to be turning this over to gain an additional ladybug into the pile, and let's place them. So the lantern I used, I went ahead and flipped it over to the opposite side to denote that it's done. And we're going to go ahead with this ladybug here. We're going to place it right here. We'll place the other one right here. And that is going to be the 3 levels that we needed across this magnolia to meet the challenge, which is awesome. This leaf is going to go to the birdhouse and is an additional color that I didn't have. The neighbor's going to come in and take this tool right here, removing it, placing it off to the side, no longer selectable. We're going to go ahead and replenish at this point. So we're going to place one right here and another one here. We're inside turn number 5. We have the challenge completed, so now we need to try and get as many points as possible. I'm going to go ahead and take this one right here because I do have a lantern that can make use of doubling up this action, which would be huge, plus the leaf will help me out. So let's go ahead and take this one. Got myself a leaf and a single branch magnolia, so this one's easy. Now again, I can choose to keep on putting this up to higher levels. I could put it over here. I could even start off down here if I wanted to, but for now, let's push even higher. We'll have a space for a ladybug in the future. We'll go ahead and place this leaf next to the other one, and as you know, as I mentioned before, I can choose right now to take a dragonfly and place it in here for a single point, or I can get a lavender token and try to put 3 bees on it to get a total of 8 points. Let's try to be aggressive and go after the lavender and see if we can turn this thing into 8 points. Should be a pretty solid option. So that's going to do it for these garden elements. With that tool done, we'll place it away, and we're now going to go ahead and do the action here for a water drip. Let's try and gain some bees here. So we're going to go ahead and use the first water drip that's off the action to go all the way down here and stop here. That'll gain me a bee. I'm going to then go ahead and spend this one to do an additional water drip action. I'm going to take this drip and we're going to move it to here to gain a second bee. Now I got options here because both these bees could be placed on the blue buttercup that I have available, and if I get 4 bees under my pergola, that will fill up a jar of honey. Or I could place these 2 bees to start going after the lavender. You might be wondering what these honey pots actually provide. Well, if I place 2 bees up here on the buttercup, that's going to give me the 4 I need to fill up a honey pot. I can pick which one I want, and what it's going to do is provide me additional bonus points at the end of the game for every one of those garden elements inside of my garden. So for instance, if I chose the ladybug, for every ladybug, no matter whether it's on a magnolia or whether it's just fluttering around the garden, each one of them is going to give me an additional point at the end of the game. That can be really beneficial. Instead, I'm going to decide to actually place them on the lavender. A little bit of a twist there because I think going after the 8 points off of that is going to be really nice. Plus, what I can do is further my garden and then see which one of these things is kind of coming out on top and then aim to fill up a honey pot in the future. Maybe more so focus on just getting some more buttercups of the red kind to actually match up with the blue ones I have here for some additional, grouping points. But I'll eventually go after one of these for sure. The neighbor's going to come in and swoop over and take this one right here, removing it, and now everything's going to shuffle down. So some of these ones I was actually eyeing are kind of coming off to the right side now. We have 2 more shovels coming into the equation. The first one will go into this position here, and the second one going here. Inside of turn number 6, I'm going to choose to go with this one. I think it's going to be good because it gives me a blue hollyhock, which I do not currently have. It gives me a red buttercup, which will pair it with one of my blue buttercups, which is great, and I get to go back to the cascade. Let's go ahead and enrich the garden. We're going to place a hollyhock here. It's blue. As you can see, things are built out in sets, which go from left to right. So essentially the blues will all pile up here. Then we'll have red or yellow next to it, and then the opposite over there. So essentially kind of building sets off to the right. And if I get one of each color, I can get maximum points at 6 per row. So we'll place that there. This one, the buttercup in red, is awesome because that can now pair with one of these 2. And by doing this grouping alone, even without bees being part of the equation at all, just the blue and the red together there is going to give me 3 points. The tool's been put away, and now we can go to the cascade. I'm going to choose to cascade this center one here, which is at the bee currently. It's going to move down to the ladybug. And there was a place on my magnolia to place it, so I've gone ahead and done that. That's my turn at this point, and the neighbor's going to come in and take this one away. We're going to go ahead and shuffle these things down. And then at this point, we're going to have not only just one shovel coming in. For the first time, we have a hoe tool coming in, which will add some differences to the equation. Now, I don't know what it is, but things seem to be lining up really well for this action right here because these 2 will work really well with the one blue one I already have to complete a set for 6 points. So taking this one seems like the best choice at the moment. So for turn 7, this seems to be a pretty good garden enhancement. We got 2 more hollyhocks coming in, but that's a complete set now. So 6 points across those. We'll place this in the tray. Now, as you can see, I'm aggressively pushing the cascade here because not only am I gaining things off of it, but eventually I can get down to the bottom here that has some benefits for me. I'm going to go ahead and move this one down to the next ladybug position, so we'll gain it, but it's going to have to be fluttering around as there's nowhere to place it on a magnolia at this moment. That's going to do it for my turn. The neighbor's going to take the rightmost tool. This one right here will go away, and we're going to grab 2 more once we move these over. Let's see what we get inside. There's a blue or teal colored lantern, as you can see on 2 of the tools. If we choose to take that and the lantern ends up in one of my trees and I choose to use it by flipping it over, when I choose a tool, I can perform a different action than the one associated with the tool. So it's powerful in that it allows you to get what you want from the garden elements, but at the same time choose the action you actually want to do rather than being at the mercy of how these things are going through the action row. Let's go after that water drip action one more time. I was actually really aiming for the frog one because I really want to gain one of the dragonflies up there, but I just don't like the combination that's here at all. So I'm going to go with this water one more time here. We'll take it. We're going to gain ourselves 2 garden elements. The blue hollyhock is going to land right on top of the blue one that I already have. Again, they build up in columns, and you're trying to build just sets off to the right, as I've mentioned. And we got a leaf in here, so we're going to go ahead and place the leaf. We'll place it over here and start building towards something else. With the tool put away, let's now go to the cascade for the action. Now this cascade is going to allow me, if I want to push this water drip all the way down, I can get it to the final position, and that means I not only gain 1 of the 3 that are down here, which I'm certainly going to do. We're going to take the B. The other thing I gain is I get to choose one of the end game conditions that can give me points. The one in the center here with the butterfly, the ladybug, and the bee is going to gain us a point for every set of these three we have in the garden, regardless of where they're located, whether they're fluttering around or landed on something. The one on the right gains us 2 points for each full honey pot that we have. We currently don't have many of those. Now the one on the far left gives us 1 for every dragonfly. And that dragonfly one is regardless of its size. I'm going to choose to go after the dragonfly one. We don't have many right now, but I'll be working towards grabbing some in the near future. We're also taking the bee from this final position and we're placing it on the lavender, which is awesome because that completes that. And now we get 8 points from that area. The neighbor's going to scoop in and grab this tool right here. Removing it, there's no more shovels in play. The hoes that are currently here are going to move off to the right, and we're going to have 2 new tools coming out. This one here and this one here. Oh wow, this one actually even comes with a bee. Let's go ahead with that frog jump. We haven't used it much, and I plan to use it to get some dragonflies. Let's go ahead and take this. This is going to give us 2 garden elements. First off, we gain a hollyhock, and it's going to be one that is red, which is perfect for our set combinations we're trying to get here. So we're 1 away from another set of 6 points if we can get a yellow there. That is currently just worth 3, and then the bottom one's worth 6. Still pretty good, though, overall. And then the other thing we get is this right here, which is a lantern. And this lantern is the one that allows you to choose a different action other than the one that's corresponding to the tool that you took. So, pretty awesome. That gives me flexibility in the future. Now, adjacent to where my frog is right now, I could go after a butterfly or a bee, or I could go after one of these larger dragonflies. They're worth 5 points. So long as I meet the requirements, I can jump there and take it. So this one right here tells me if I have 4 leaves, which I don't, I have 3, I could take that one. So I can't take that at the moment, but the magnolia leaf one I could take because I do have 4 magnolia leaves. So I could go after that one. And this one up here, the hollyhock one, I could absolutely go after that too. I'm going to choose to go after the magnolia one right in the center. So we're going to go ahead and take that off. It'll end up on my board, which I'll show you in a second. The cascade is going to help me out because that's going to give me an additional 1 for every dragonfly on top of the 5 points that red one already is. So that thing is worth 6 at this point. Pretty solid. The neighbor's coming in to use this one right here, removing it from play, and 2 more coming out after the shuffle down. So we'll move them on down. And the next 2 are this one here and this one here. I'm not going to lie, there's a really good one, and it's sitting on the far right-hand side. It's perfect. It's got the yellow hollyhock that I need. It's got a bee on it, plus it allows me to move the frog. I'm absolutely going after this one. So we got our garden elements. We'll go ahead and enhance the garden by placing them in. So now we've got 2 sets. They're both worth 6 points each. That's awesome. The bee here is going to go over to this location. Again, once we have a total of 4 bees, doesn't matter where they are in this pergola area, then we can start getting ourselves some honey. My action is for a frog jump, which is perfect, and we're sitting in the middle, so the only options I have is to go to one of the 3 major lily pads around me. Let's go for the bee. This also gets me closer to the 2 other dragonflies I want to obtain very soon. And you likely guessed it, but yes, this bee is definitely going into this area, and when I do this, the second I do, I've got 4 in here, I can then come down here, and I can fill one of the honey pots as I choose. Out of everything I have so far, the ladybugs are certainly the heaviest, as that was my challenge, so I might as well lean into that. We'll get a honey pot for that, giving me an additional 1 for every ladybug in play. The neighbor's coming in to take this one right here, and we're going to refill by moving these over to the right, and then 2 new ones coming in. Forgot to place my tool inside my pot, no gameplay impact, but just want to mention that it's in there now, and we're going into a brand new turn. I think sticking with a frog jump makes a lot of sense. This is a really great one. We'll definitely make use of it. The 2 garden elements I just gained, this one here, lantern, goes up in the tree, and this one here is perfect combination to the other blue one over here, which is awesome. So the buttercups are connected on that front. So we've got these sets. Both of these now are 3 apiece, forgetting about the bees, just blue and red together. For my frog jump action, you probably saw this coming. I'm going over the buttercup over here, taking the 5.1 and placing it in my garden. There's only a handful of turns remaining, so at this point the neighbor's going to go ahead and remove this one next to the one I took, and these ones are going to move over. 2 more coming in. Let's see what we got for options here. For this turn, I'm taking the far left tool, but I'm not going to take the action that's here. Instead, I'm going to use the lantern that I have to be able to pick any action that I want, and I'll be doing a cascade action. So I'll go ahead and just place this here to remind myself, and then put it back a little later on. What's awesome is this tool will give me a boost for the cascade action in the future, which I'm certainly going to make use of right away. And then this right here can just go into the column to start another set. As I'm using an any action lantern, I'm going to use this in order to go ahead and do the cascade. So we're going to go over there and check it out. And when we do the cascade, I'm going to go ahead and do another one. So I'm going to flip this one over. So we'll be doing it twice. Let's go ahead and choose the cascade from here down to this bee right here. When doing this, I'm going to use this lantern right here to gain additional bee beyond the one I'm already getting. So we're going to go ahead and use that right now. So 2 bees being gained. And as I mentioned before, I'm using a lantern to do a second cascade. So we're going to continue downwards, getting us down to the ladybug. We got some insects to place in our garden. I'm going to drop the ladybug here in the open space as there's nowhere to plant it on a magnolia at the moment. And the bees are going to go in each of the red buttercup areas here. That's going to fill them up. They're going to give me 2 points each as they're completely full of bees now. So 4 points just off those 2 placements. It's also worth noting I'm keeping a sharp eye on the fact I've got 6 over here, and 1 more will fill up another pot of honey. The neighbor's going to come along and take this one right here, and then 2 more coming out as these other 2 will just stay exactly where they are. There's a ladybug on that one, and we got some magnolia finally coming out on this one. For this turn, let's take the frog jump action and take these 2 right here. This should be nice. The hollyhock will add an additional 2 to the ones I already have. So with these gained, we'll go ahead and place them in the appropriate columns as we're building ourselves up. We need a red one now to get 6 points in this one. We're really got a lot going on in this, which is pretty awesome. We'll go ahead and place this off to the side, and now let's do our frog jump. Now this frog jump's a little bit brutal because as much as I really want the bee that's right here, the bee would just be flying around as I do not have a buttercup for it to sit on, which means I cannot go ahead and get that honey pot filled until I get another one of those buttercups hanging. So I can't really make use of the bee at this moment, so maybe heading up and grabbing a butterfly on my way to go after the dragonfly up here that's worth 5 points makes more sense. Let's go ahead and do it. Now, a butterfly can go on any open space on any hollyhock, no matter the level at all. So I could go all the way to the very top if I wish, which I'm going to go ahead and do. That's going to just provide me with additional points at the very end to have butterflies up on top of there. So if I was really focusing on that, I'd have a lot of spots to place butterflies. We're getting very close to the end now. The neighbor's taking this tool right here. These other 2 are going to shift over, and I'm going to see whether I can pull off what I'm hoping to pull off with the dragonfly at the tail end of this as turns are coming to an end. Well, in a way, it couldn't have worked out any better. I could go after this one right now to guarantee I get the dragonfly, plus the red would allow me to go from 3 to 6 points on one of the sets of the hollyhocks down below, which is great. Another ladybug is beneficial for the bonus points of the honey pot I already have, so I think let's go with this one. All right, so the red hollyhock's going to go right here, completing that set. Now we got 3 sets at 6 points each, which is incredible. And then this ladybug has nowhere to go but just roaming around. The tool's been stowed away. We know what the frog's doing. He's heading up to the North Point lily pad where he's going to grab a dragonfly. He's going after the hollyhock one, and we absolutely have 4 or more going on for sure, so we can grab this one and place it in our garden. The neighbor's going to come along and take this one right here. Things are going to shuffle over like so. 2 more are going to come out. And we are officially on our final turn. The final thing I was hoping to do, but there's just too much to do in this final turn, was to try to get a buttercup in here with 1 more bee, and that would allow me to fill up a honey pot, and that would have given me additional bonus points, especially on lanterns even. Would have given me 5 right there. Butterflies only would have been 1, and for every 2 leaves, I don't have any of those. So definitely getting the lantern would have been awesome. There just isn't any way to get a bee as well as a buttercup at this point. I can get one or the other. Actually, at this point, I can't even get a bee, I don't think, in any way, any easy way. Can I cascade my way to 1? No, I can't even cascade my way to 1 either. So that's not going to work on any front. So we got to figure out what we can do with what we have. So if I go with this one right here, which would force the frog jump, not bad. I could go after a butterfly and get some points. It looks like it would be, I think it's 3 points, or that has to be the 3rd level, 4th level, sorry. So I only get 2 points. That's not that much. I could go over here and go for the leaf and I could get some points off of that, a couple. Not much, but a couple. The water cascade wouldn't give me too much, as I already know. This one here gives me a token that I can't make use of at this point in time. It basically allows you to do, when you do a frog jump, you can do an additional frog jump, but that's not going to help me at this point. The yellow won't complete a full set, but it'll give me an extra 2 points, not too much there. And then another butterfly over here. So it looks like my options are fairly limited at this point. And it doesn't matter what I seem to pick, it's around 2 to 3 points, maybe. Let's go ahead with this one right here. It'll give me magnolia as well as a leaf, and then it'll allow me to cascade. So I got myself a leaf as well as a magnolia. I'll place the magnolia on this branch over here. This gives me a spot for a ladybug, although I have to do a flutter to get them on there, but I could gain one as I cascade, which is part of my plan. The leaf here is going to go over here, combining with this one. And again, knowing that putting lavender there would not be the smartest move. Instead, I'll put a small dragonfly, as it'll count for 1 point, but also an additional point thanks to the bonus that I chose down here. So I got 2 points just from that alone. Last but not least, I'll cascade from where I'm at right here down to this ladybug position and place that ladybug on a high perch based on the magnolia I just placed. That is my 15th turn. The neighbor's going to come along and take this one, and at this point we can't replenish any further. That's the end of the game. The 15th turn is over. It's now time for final scoring, so simply grab the scoring pad and you're going to go through these one at a time and total things up. The scoring board you have along the bottom of your garden will also correspond to all the different entries on the actual sheet. So you simply just reference them to find out what you need to score. In this case, a set of 3 for hollyhocks will give you 6 points. So 6, 12, and then another 6, 18. And then the final one at the very top by itself, just 1, is a total of 19 on the hollyhocks. Now we score up the butterflies. It's based on the level the butterfly is on. As you can see, if the butterfly is up to the 4th level, it's 3 points, and my butterfly is, so I get 3 right there, and that's it. Now we score magnolias. We forget about the ladybugs for a moment and just look at the levels of magnolias. So we have 1 level, 2, 3, and the top there with 2 on it is 4. So we got 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. Once you get up to the 4th level, then the points ratchet up to 2. If you get to the 5th and higher levels, you get 3 points. So in this case for me, 2, 1, 1, and 1 is a total of 5. Now it's time to score the ladybugs, which is quite easy to do. Ignore the ones that are not on the magnolia at this point. So level number 1, how many do we have? Just 1. So that means all the ladybugs at level 1 are worth 1. And we look at 2, we only have 1 at level 2, so it's just worth 1. Same for 3. So we got 1, 2, and 3. When we get to level 4, we've got 2 ladybugs. So because we have 2 of them, they're worth 2 points each. So 2 and 2 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 points across the ladybugs that are on magnolia. The rest don't matter for now, but remember the honey pot that I got earlier. We'll talk about that in a bit. Now let's score up the buttercups, but completely ignore the bees for now. Pretend they're not there. We're essentially just looking to see which ones have a pair. In other words, a red and a blue. So we have 1 pair here and 1 pair here. That counts for 3. That counts for 3. So that's 6 points. Now let's score for the bees, and this is good news for me because I was able to fill out all the buttercups and also the lavender. I get to score on everything, but for instance, if one of these buttercups only had 1 bee on it, I wouldn't get to score anything for this one. So what do I get for each of them? Well, these red ones here are going to be worth 2 points, so we got 2 of those, so that's 4 points. These blue ones are worth 4, so we got those filled up, so that's a total of 8, and then 2, and then 2 again, so we got a total of 12 there, and then we know the lavender is 8, so that's a total of 20 points. Next we have the leaves. Each one of them is going to be worth 2 points, so this is worth 2 points, this is worth 2 points, 2 and 2, so we got a total of 8 right there. Dragonflies are next. The biggest ones are worth 5, medium, which we don't have any of, are worth 3, and the small ones are worth 1. So we have 3 of the large ones, so that's 15 points right there. 1 of the small ones, that's 1 point, so a total of 16 points. Now for the final handful of icons that are on this score sheet, we're going to be going after the bonus points, essentially. So honey pots we'll start off with. This is going to give me 1 point for every ladybug, no matter where it is in my garden, and I've got a bunch. Almost an infestation going on down here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's find out what we get for bonus points off the cascade, which we know we reached the bottom, and you have to reach the bottom to be able to get a bonus off that one. This bonus provides me with an extra point for every dragonfly, no matter of its size. We have 4, so an extra 4 points. And last but not least, we check our leaves, and we check for every unique color in the birdhouse. And we currently only have, how many in here? 2. So we're just getting 2 points, as both of them are different colors. So here are the tallies across all of them, and now let's total up the score. My total score was 98 points. So with your point total in mind, you now come to the challenge page and make sure that you completed your challenge. You have to in order to record your results. So it says you must have at least 1 ladybug on each of the at least 3 magnolia levels. We definitely had that and more. We had it on 4. So we're good there, which means we can put our 98 in here. Now, if we failed the challenge, we can actually instead place our value in the free game slot, which says right here, a standard game without any additional goals. And then you can kind of continue on from there. Again, you also have what's going on with the other players as they're scoring along the way, but your ultimate goal is to get 1,000 points or more across the 10 challenges to ensure that you can join the 1,000 club. And that, my friends, wraps up my game overview and gameplay video for Pergola coming from Rebel Studio. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about what you saw, and I hope this video helps you make an informed decision on it. And as always, keep on rolling solo.